If you are on team travel like myself, then your goal is always going to be to utilize credit cards as a tool to travel as much as possible and have some amazing travel experiences. But the problem is there are so many different travel credit cards that are out there, and each travel credit card has its own unique benefits that you need to utilize to get positive value. So in this video, I'm going to go over 5 clues that you might have the wrong credit cards, and make sure that you stay throughout this video because I'm going to discuss a lot of specific examples of credit card concepts that honestly don't get talked about that much, but are going to help you in making sure that you're choosing the right credit cards for you. But before I hop into the video, if you do enjoy videos just like this one, then do me a huge favor and hit that like button and subscribe down below, because it's a free and easy way to help support my channel. So the first clue that you have the wrong credit cards, especially if you're someone who's on team travel, is if you're not able to utilize all of the travel benefits. One thing that a lot of travel credit cards have in common is that the best benefits on those cards are usually travel related, and they help to elevate travel experiences. This can take form in a couple of different ways. So for instance, you have cards like the Capital One Venture X or Chase Sapphire Reserve. They give you big general travel credits that you can basically use for any travel expenses to help lower your effective fees. You have cards like the Hilton Aspire or Marriott Bonvoy Brilliant that will give you benefits like free night awards and elevated statuses. The American Express Platinum is going to give you the best airport lounge access with access to over 1,400 airport lounges, including access to Centurion lounges. And then pretty much all travel credit cards are going to give you significant travel upside in terms of being able to transfer all of your points out to travel partners. So you should always make sure that you're getting travel credit cards that are going to make the most sense for your own travel preferences, and cards where you're going to be able to utilize all of the main benefits every quarter, every year, or even every month, depending on the card. To go over some of the most important travel credit cards and benefits that you need to be utilizing, if you have the American Express Platinum, you want to make sure that you're able to get at least $500 to $600 in value from the many credits, and you want to make sure that you're utilizing the airport lounge access, especially to Centurion lounges. If you don't get that much value from the credits, or you just don't utilize the airport lounge access very often, then that probably means the American Express Platinum is just not going to be the right card for you. Let's say that's the case, so there's just too much to manage on the American Express Platinum, and so it's not going to be the right fit for you. Well, a better option could be the Capital One Venture X, which is a much more simple and straightforward travel credit card. However, if you have a Capital One Venture X, then you need to make sure that you are maximizing the $300 annual travel credit that you get when you book any travel through the Capital One travel portal, because that travel credit is just going to be a really important factor in terms of the amount of value that you're able to get from the Capital One Venture X. But if you hate the restrictiveness of travel portals, and so you don't really like that $300 travel credit, well, then the Venture X is probably not going to be the right card for you as well. If you have cards like the Hilton Aspire or Marriott Bonvoy Brilliant, then those cards are going to be really valuable if you consider yourself to be a loyalist with one of those hotel brands, because they'll give you a lot of high-end perks specifically with those brands. And so in that case, you want to make sure that you're utilizing those hotel-specific benefits, so like the free night awards and elevated statuses. But if you don't care that much about having the highest possible statuses with specific hotel brands, then both of those higher tier hotel cards are probably not going to be for you as well. Ultimately, the wrong travel credit cards are going to be on a situation by situation basis, and it just depends on what benefits on what cards you're just not going to be able to utilize. However, on the flip side, the right travel credit cards are going to be the cards where they make the most sense with your travel and spending preferences, and the benefits are going to work seamlessly within your organic spending, so you're able to utilize a lot of the credits and benefits organically without putting in much extra effort. Next up, another clue that you have the wrong credit cards is if the travel credit cards that you have don't take into account your location preferences. What I mean by this is that your location in terms of where you like to travel to and where your home airport is definitely going to play a factor in which travel credit cards are going to make the most sense for you. As an example, Spencer Johnson recently upgraded to the Chase Sapphire Reserve, and his home airport is in Austin, Texas. And in Austin, they have a Sapphire Terrace Lounge, but they don't have any Centurion lounges. So based on his home airport location, you could make the argument that the Chase Sapphire Reserve is the right travel card for him, whereas the American Express Platinum might be the wrong travel card for him, at least if you're just going based off of the home airport preferences. However, in my situation, my home airport is in Seattle, Washington, and in Seattle, they have a really nice Centurion lounge. So that's a huge reason for why the American Express Platinum is a part of my credit card roadmap, and I plan to add it later in 2024, but I have no plans of adding the Chase Sapphire Reserve. In addition to home airport location, another clue that you might not have the right credit cards is if you're not taking into account where you most often travel to and what travel partners can help you to get there. Overall, you want to make sure that you have the right cards in terms of the points that you're earning on those cards, but then also the travel partners that you're able to transfer those points out to. You also want to take into account how you are traveling. So if you're someone who likes to stay at Airbnbs, or maybe you're a backpacker that likes to stay at hostels when you travel, then of course, this could be a sign that cards like the Hilton Aspire or Marriott Bonvoy Brilliant are not going to be right for you, since you wouldn't be taking advantage of free net awards or elevated statuses and staying at resorts or hotels in general. The next clue that you have the wrong credit cards is if you are earning points for the wrong travel ecosystems. Depending on what travel credit cards that you have, you're going to be earning points for specific travel ecosystems, and those could be with Chase, American Express, Capital One, or Citi that have different benefits and different travel partners that you're able to transfer your points out to. So as a personal example, myself and my wife Lucia travel to Mexico pretty frequently, usually at least once per year. And so because of that, even though Delta and Aeromexico are typically seen as not super valuable travel partners, they do make a lot of sense for our own situation. So we'll want to take that into account in terms of what points ecosystems that we're earning points for and have the ability to transfer points out to. Because for example, American Express transfers to Aeromexico at a 1 to 1.6 ratio, whereas all the other partners that transfer to Aeromexico only transfer at a 1 to 1 rate. So for that, American Express might make a lot of sense for us. To provide another example, a lot of people love the Hyatt ecosystem and the ability to transfer points from Chase or Bilt out to Hyatt. And if that's you and you love the Hyatt ecosystem, then cards like the American Express Platinum or American Express Gold cards might actually not be a good fit for you, since you can't transfer American Express points over to Hyatt. Going off that, if you travel pretty frequently, but you rarely travel internationally, so you're typically flying domestically on airlines like United or Southwest, then the right cards for you might be like the Chase Sapphire Reserve or Chase Sapphire Preferred, where you get an additional points boost if you were to just book that travel through the Chase travel portal, since you're not necessarily going for outsized travel redemptions with just the consistent value. Ultimately, just try not to blindly earn points, but instead focus on the ecosystem that you're actually earning points with, and make sure that you're actually having specific use cases for those points in the future. The next clue that you might have the wrong credit cards is if there are some cheaper alternatives that are out there that actually might give you pretty similar benefits that you could use in the same way. The first way to figure this out is to take a look at what travel cards that you currently have and what benefits that you are utilizing. And like I said with the first clue, if you aren't utilizing the main benefits, then you probably have the wrong credit cards anyways. But let's say that you are utilizing the main benefits on a card like the American Express Platinum. So you utilize some of the credits, especially the travel credits like the $200 hotel credit and the $200 airline fee credit, and you try to utilize the airport lounge access as much as you can. Well, for the sake of this example, let's say that you also travel to the Dallas, Denver, or Washington, D.C. airports really frequently, and maybe one of those is your home airport. Well, in that case, then I would argue that the American Express Platinum might actually be the wrong card for you if you're focused on the travel credits and airport lounge access, because you could instead go with a cheaper alternative like the Capital One Venture X that still gives you an impactful $300 annual travel credit, plus access to Capital One lounges. And again, for the sake of this example, I said that Dallas, Denver, or DC was one of your main airports. And in all of those airports, you would have access to a Capital One lounge. Additionally, to give you a personal example, in my situation, the Chase Sapphire Reserve would be the wrong travel credit card for me, because the travel benefit that I get the most value out of for Chase travel cards is just having the ability to transfer my points out to Chase's travel partners. And I get that same travel partner capability on cheaper alternatives like the Chase Sapphire Preferred or the Chase Ink Preferred. The Chase Sapphire Preferred and Chase Ink Preferred only have $95 annual fees, whereas the Sapphire Reserve has that high $550 annual fee. So this is a prime example to where I could still get cheaper alternatives that achieve a lot of the same goals because they'd still give me the benefit that I value the most. Finally, the last clue that you might have the wrong credit cards is if the credit cards that you have don't align with your spending preferences and your ability to get the highest return on spend. I wanted to start out this section by pointing out Stan the Credit Frog because he did a fantastic job of taking a look at his own spending preferences and adjusting accordingly. And he actually completely changed around and pivoted his credit card setup to instead focus on a card like the US Bank Altitude Reserve, which was going to give him 3x back on mobile wallet purchases. And since he frequently used Apple Pay, it made a lot of sense. I think this is a good example because I think all of us every month or every quarter should take a step back and take a look at where we're spending most of our money and then get credit cards that is going to capitalize on a lot of that spending. You could make the argument that, well, this video is more focused on travel cards, And a lot of times, travel credit cards are more focused on travel benefits instead of the point multipliers for specific spending. But even then, travel is never completely free. There's always going to be different travel expenses that come up. And maybe you spend a lot of money for travel for your business. And in that case, obviously the point multipliers that you're getting is going to matter a little bit. And so a card like the Chase Sapphire Preferred might be the wrong card for you because you only get 2x back on general travel purchases. Whereas you could go with a card like the Chase Ink Preferred instead to elevate that multiplier for general travel purchases. Or you could even go with a card like the Capital Venture X that gets higher multipliers in travel portal specific categories. Ultimately, all of the clues that I mentioned in this video are going to be ways for you to take a look at your own credit card setup and make sure that the cards that you have are actually making the most sense. But if you want to learn about some other credit card hacks, then go check out this video next, where I went over 7 credit card hacks with Chase specifically that no one really knows about. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Peace.